So you're thinking about getting married in Sayulita. Today I'm talking with Andrea from Sayulita Dream Weddings, and we're going to be talking about tips so that when you plan your wedding in Sayulita, you end up with the dream wedding that you're wanting.
Hi, Craig. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So what are some of your tips? You have 16 years of experience planning weddings in Sayulita. And just a note, I've been saying it wrong, and Andrea corrected me. I say Sayulita, but she corrected me. It's Sayulita, so almost like S-I as I'm picturing it in my head now.
Gosh, where to start? There's so many things we could touch on. But I think when you're thinking about a destination wedding, you're probably looking at a couple of different places. What I hear a lot from couples is, we've thought about doing it at home, but everyone has to travel anyway. Or we were going to go here. And then often shopping between different areas in Mexico. So I think it's really important to, make a list of what are your priorities? What is most important to you? Do you want to be on the beach for your ceremony? Do you want to, be on the water with a view, but on the grass? Do you want something that's really private? Do you not mind if there's sort of beachgoers wandering by, or maybe horses or dogs behind the ceremony? These are all things to consider because every location has unique things to offer. Do you want to be in a resort with all of your guests staying in one place and kind of have, like a more of a package resort wedding, or do you want that unique experience? For Sayulita, my Sayulita couples, I feel like that's what they're really looking for, and that's really what Sayulita plays well to, is creating a unique, vibrant experience that not going to get anywhere else, that really allows them to express their individuality for the things that they love. Great food or epic dance party or, beach town and all these things. While it also, gives some flexibility to the guests. They get to have a great vacation. They can find accommodations within their range of budget and their needs, as opposed to being locked into a nightly room rate at a room block, or an all-inclusive. And people get to experience Mexico. We have a very lovely, vibrant, multicultural Bohemian community. It's very Mexican. It's very also international. So most people speak English. If you don't speak Spanish, you can definitely get around. And if you try a little bit, then people appreciate that. But it's very accessible, easy town to be in. And I think that's what draws people to it. It's beautiful. It's small. We can, walk from one end to the other in 20 minutes. Or most people rent golf cars and zip around on those. And so it just makes it really fun. What I find is that if you're here with 50 or 100 people, you're going to wander around town, even if you're not staying at the same hotel. And there are options for that. We do have a lot of great boutique hotels with, capacity for 80 to 100 people. So that's great. We don't have huge resorts here, but you're going to wander around town and you're going to run into people in your group, and everybody's going to have this kind of shared vacation vibe and really just enjoy exploring the town and eating tacos and going to bars and all that good stuff, surfing, shopping.
I remember my first time down there, I rented a golf cart and it was great. But then after that, I realized you don't need one unless you need to head out for a venue or something like that. But I find it great just to walk around. And I would run into the couple as we're at a bar right from the beach, or a random other couple I met who's traveling from Europe. Or it's fun. It's really fun down.
Yeah, it is fun. So I guess to bring it back to the question, it was where do we start? Deciding what kind of experience you want to create for your guests, and then from there, then think about what budget you have. I mean, certainly Cabo is turning out some gorgeous weddings these days. It is a beautiful destination. I find that their market is much more expensive than ours. And while we are definitely not Mexico on the cheap, as I think, some people sometimes think, we are getting top quality services for a good value. I think our prices are really fair, and your dollar or your Canadian dollar is going to go stronger, is going to get you further here than it will there in your home. Depending on how the peso is doing, which is doing better right now. And you'll probably have a smaller guest list if you do a destination wedding, which allows you to spend a little bit less or to spend more on, better experiences versus spending less per guest to have like all the coworkers and extended family there.
In terms of budget, is there a number or a range that a couple could be thinking about to say, okay, I do want to get married at Sayulita. What would a good range of a complete budget be for them?
So when I talk about budget, Craig, I am sort of talking about all the things that will come through my desk in terms of being managed by me. So venue, wedding planning, photography, video, catering, bar, decor, supporting events, hair and makeup, rentals, but not attire, stationery, and travel and accommodation. So those I would consider like personal expenses. So the number that I give as a starting range and what my clients typically are working with is like $600 and above per guest. So if you've got 100 guests, you're going to spend about $60,000 US to do the kind of quality events that I'm working with really great, amazing, trusted vendors, like awesome caterers, great florists, and really, a beautiful event. Certainly you could do it for less than that, but that's just my recommendation and sort of my starting point for most people that I am working with. From there, the sky's the limit. Obviously, you can spend a lot more than that. And we're seeing some of the fanciest weddings that we're seeing in our area and our region are like our Mexican weddings that are coming from Guadalajara and Mexico City and doing some pretty insane productions that I know are spending a lot of money. And certainly some of the foreign weddings too spend more than that. But that would be my sort of base range and recommendation. So I think another thing to think about as you like narrow down your locations and where you think you want to get married is to reach out to the wedding planners in those areas, in those markets, get info about the markets, what their like budget ranges are that they work with, what venues they offer. This is all part of my sort of introductory inquiry process. Before I book anyone, we're talking about what they're looking for, what I can offer, what we typically spend. I give everyone that writes me, that we have an interaction with my venue list, and we work from there. And traditionally, if we could fit, we do a consult and we just lock down the venue and the date and then, sign my agreement and move forward so that we have those things sort of all in alignment. And then we really start picking out, choosing photographer and videographer and all the other amazing vendors that they get to work with. And I have lists for all that. So that timeline is usually around like 18 to 12 months before the date. And I think what I'm seeing is that, because our industry in our region gets busier and busier, things are booking up quicker and quicker. So especially if you're looking for a really popular month like November and February are probably our busiest wedding months. November is like the first month after the rainy season that is sort of open for business. And so it tends to be really full. And February is like the nicest weather. And then people have President's Day, holiday, and they're sort of ready for a break after holiday travels. So that tends to book up the quickest. So what I'm finding with couples right now, they're planning for next winter is that a lot of venues are already booked and they're having limited date selection. So my recommendation is more like 18 months out. I'm also getting pretty booked up. So I think that that's a good thing to work with.
Just a note on that to kind of round it off a little bit. That's interesting because in my mind, I feel like it could be a little more last minute, but it's very much just like a traditional wedding in the States. Like you're definitely at that far inside so that you end up with the things that you want.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be able to be a little more last minute. I feel like, in 5 years ago, I would maybe be a year out planning and then, maybe pick up a wedding 6 months before. And there was something kind of fun about that, just being able to bang it out and like make quick decisions. And I still do those every once in a while, like for smaller weddings. So what I find with my own engagements is that I have like my 8 like solid weddings already booked for next season, like next fall to spring. And I probably won't take, like right now I've closed the books on that season, but I have some room in there. Like if the right job comes along and it's like an elopement, I could squeeze that in somewhere, or a small wedding. And then other than that, I'm kind of looking at November 2024 for new bookings.
So if you're watching this and you want a really, really good planner, then contact Andrea as soon as you can. If you want to lock her in, or whoever you're here, don't let the time keep ticking. What other tip do you have for couples as they're thinking about getting married at Sayulita?
So I think once you've sort of researched a few areas that you're maybe looking at, or just you're going to love Sayulita, you've either been here before or you've heard enough great things about it, then it's great if you can make a trip down if you can. And so it's certainly not essential, but it's usually fun, and it's awesome to get to take a little mini vacation and do some on the ground wedding planning. And many of my clients will select a venue before coming to Sayulita in person. And then if you can narrow down your venue enough and you feel confident working with a planner to choose the right venue from afar, then when you do come, you can really like have a more relaxed planning visit, actually do some planning work, taste food, get to go to the venue and really be in it with the eye that this is the one where the wedding's going to be. How are we going to lay things out? And then the other side of it is to come down for venue scouting. And then that sort of depends on your availability, as I said, because, you're going to want to do that, 12 to 18 months out. And then we can go and, see a bunch of venues. And that's certainly a wonderful thing too, if you can't decide from afar. It's great to see them in person. I find those trips tend to be a little overwhelming for people because we're moving around a lot and they're seeing things and it's really hard to make the decision, but they're also really happy to have seen everything in person. And we usually do a tasting, and that's a service that I offer as well as a kind of an add-on, not an add-on, but if people want to come and scout, but they're not ready to make a full commitment, then we can do like a scouting fee and I'll apply it to your planning package. So that's something I've done with a lot of folks.
I also made a video, if you're watching this, flying into Puerto Vallarta and then making the drive out to Sayulita. So if you're curious and you've never been, you kind of want to see what that experience would be like, you could watch that so that you feel a little more grounded when you hit the ground as you're making it out to Sayulita.
I think that's great. Those are the big early things to consider. And then, we get into the fun side of planning and what kind of fun activities you can plan for your guests when they're here, outside of your official events. But I think it's important as you consider locations just to really know a little bit about your region and sort of what's the market, what are the limits, you like work with that, source locally whenever you can, and try to like work with what your venue and your region has to offer instead of wanting to like sort of plan a desert wedding in the jungle or trying to, fit a square peg into a round hole.
So just some takeaways from this then. If you watch this, 12 to 18 months is kind of a good time frame for you to be planning your wedding. It's when you find you get booked out. As you're thinking about your wedding venues, think about your guest experience. Do you want to have it at a place where everybody can stay, or do you want to be close to the beach, or there's just lots of options, which will also alter how people are able to get around town. Sayulita is a great small town. Like Andrea said, it takes 20 minutes from walk from one side to the other. If you're looking for that quintessential Mexico experience in a very authentic town, Sayulita offers that versus a more, okay, we're just at a resort, we're forcing everybody to get a room at the resort and we're maybe really not leaving the resort. Sayulita can offer a really great experience that maybe your guests have never had before, which is a really fun treat to get back and have your wedding there. Thank you guys for watching this. If you're curious to learn more about Andrea, I interviewed her just about her business and her experience and what got her down to Sayulita. You can watch that right here. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this. Andrea, thank you so much for giving the advice.
Thank you, Craig.